Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's Monday night Facebook Live. I am Laura Betts with HyperbaricsRx, and I thank you again for joining me this evening. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about some nutritional considerations for hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It is a powerful modality, and it does a lot all at the same time. So, even though it doesn't have any negative side effects, are we creating the best opportunity for efficacy? Do we have other things that are interfering? Could we do better and get maybe a synergistic effect and actually get better results from the hyperbaric and better results from other modalities when we integrate them together? So I'll talk a little bit about that. So again, welcome. We do Facebook Lives every Monday at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. So I thank you very much for coming out. And of course, please feel free to share this information. And if you have a topic that you're interested in, we'd love to hear from you. We also have, if you have questions, this is an opportunity to ask our oxygen experts live and ask our natural health practitioners questions live, and we'd be happy to answer them for you as well. So let's go ahead and get into it a little bit. And again, let me introduce myself. So again, my name is Laura Betts. I am founder and facility director of HyperbaricsRx. We are located here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but we actually have clients from all over the country. And in addition to the facility here, I also sit on a couple of different medical boards. So my area of expertise, my foundations are in diving medicine. So I do sit on the ANDI medical board. I was originally a mixed gas diving instructor. And as many of you know, I had my own personal narrative, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy was just an absolute miracle in my health and recovery. And that's a different video for a different time. With it. So I do sit on the ANDI medical board, and HyperbaricsRx is an ANDI certified hyperbaric facility. We do have certified chamber operators and certified hyperbaric technicians on staff. And in addition to the ANDI medical board, I do also sit on the IHMF board as well. And I am vice president of substance abuse programming and protocol integration for the IHMF. So I get to see a lot of really interesting things. And when I first transitioned from diving medicine to hyperbaric medicine, I had the opportunity to be sought out as a freestanding hyperbaric facility. Well, hyperbaric should really be the first choice and certainly part of a integrated approach. I mean, the body needs oxygen to do just about everything. All of the healing mechanisms are completely oxygen dependent. So even if hyperbaric isn't the primary therapy, even if hyperbaric is not what's the main intervention, it still can be very, very supportive to the body. And because all of these things require massive amounts of oxygen, having that oxygen available can be a really great thing with it. So early in my transition, we started to see some very, very complex cases. And again, these are people that hyperbaric ultimately became a last resort. They were coming to the freestanding hyperbaric facility because in some cases they had literally tried everything else. So on things like that with it. And so here they go. And in some of these cases, these people had been to 22 different doctors and all sorts of different considerations. And one of the things that happens is by the time they're there, they're in a very serious inflammatory cycle. And unfortunately, because of that inflammatory cycle, the hyperbaric does a really, really good job of supplying the oxygen as a primary component. But it's not the only component that's needed for the body to heal and repair. And depending on some other things that are going on, if these other components aren't there, the body really starts to struggle. And we can even get some negative symptoms be produced. We can even get a healing crisis. So someone came up and said, what about brain wounds, traumatic brain injury? TBI and post-traumatic stress disorder, absolutely, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is excellent for those things. The International Hyperbaric Medical Foundation is actually the organization behind all of the research for traumatic brain injury. And the IHMA, IHMF is the organization that got diabetic ulcers cleared. And all of that research behind the scenes went ahead and did that. So lot going on with the body when the body is in a healing and repair process. And the brain, again, needs lots of oxygen. Another good example of it's an important component, but it's not the only component. There is a gut-brain relationship that we have going on. Now, one of the biggest things that happens in the first few hyperbaric sessions is the mitochondria, for the first time in a very long time, actually have what it needs to do its job. And the mitochondria, right? You've heard the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Well, it's essentially the engine. And different cells, by the way, have different amounts of mitochondria. So certain cells, like, for example, the cells that make up our immune function and immune mobilization, they need a lot of mitochondria function in order to happen. And hyperbaric actually repairs and supercharges the mitochondria. So the first thing that happens, and this is, you can even see this on a first hyperbaric session, is all of these cells that have essentially been idling, they haven't been doing their job, all of a sudden have the oxygen needed to make the energy, the adenosine triphosphate, the ATP, which essentially supercharges the engines, revs them up, and the body now goes into a massive process. And then depending exactly on the dosage and depending on the considerations, we'll have other mechanisms that are engaged. So for example, when we are at a bactericidal dosage, you get all of this immune mobilization. The white blood cells actually become bigger hunters with better guns. And ultimately, by the way, mitochondrial dysfunction is the root cause of all disease. If you said, why is this person sick? Why is someone in a disease progression? Why does this person have an injury? Ultimately, it's because of some kind of damage to the mitochondria. Now, that damage can be structural, and the body does a very, very good job of angiogenesis, making new bone and making new tissue. But again, the process to make that new bone and tissue, the process to make fibroblasts to repair a wound, the process of neurogenesis, when you actually look at some of the medgas studies, and we have gray matter evident, clinically documented to grow back, oxygen was the primary mechanism. Oxygen was the primary component, and it created the opportunity for it to heal. But again, it's not the only component. So there's all of these other nutrients that are required in order for the body to make angiogenesis. And what happens in a lot of situations is the microbiome is disrupted. There's poor nutrient absorption for a variety of reasons. And the first hyperbaric sessions actually throw someone into a healing crisis. Again, making the point here, oxygen, it's the primary component, but not the only component. For example, if the body is trying to make bone, oxygen is a big part of that. But think about bone, right? Think about what bones are made out of. It's not the only component. The body needs an adequate mineral profile. The body needs other things specifically, and different organs require different support. Now, I mentioned again that HBOT repairs mitochondria, and mitochondria, very often mitochondria damage is a root cause of the disease. Now, structural damage is one of the ways in which the mitochondria is damaged. But another way in which the mitochondria can be damaged, by the way, can be emotional. And the person can actually be in a stress cycle that they are burning through vital nutrients because the body is essentially trying to compensate. It's in this absolute flight state, and it's using nutrients, and these nutrients are in short supply in our food to begin with. So low in nutrients, and now they find themselves in a hyperbaric scenario where the body is trying to engage massive healing mechanisms, and they were deficient in those nutrients in the first place. And we see this with a lot of brain injuries, for example. Well, their mood is off, their feelings are off, their thoughts are off, their sleep is off, their brain is not working properly because it can't fully express, it can't make the enzymes that it needs to do whatever particular thing that area needs to do. And the gut and brain are directly related. So we get oxygen in there, and that's great, and that's a piece of it. But again, it's not the only piece. So when we're considering working with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, we need to consider the stress state that this person is in. What's going on with their amino acids? Is their body getting enough nutrients in order to create the opportunity for the brain to have all of the other chemicals? Is the body in an inflammatory cycle that's preventing the absorption of nutrients? Do we need to help the body better able to digest what the individual is eating? What is the person eating? Are they eating food that is actually providing any nutrients at all? Some people really don't have great diets, and it plays a role. Now, interestingly enough, in this, one of the biggest reasons why the mitochondria is damaged is because of a toxin. And this is another area where hyperbaric oxygen therapy shines, because hyperbaric is able to repair the neurological injury. Again, all of these tissues, they need a lot of oxygen in order for angiogenesis to take place. It's not going to repair without an awful lot of oxygen. You can't initiate the healing chemical reaction without hyperbaric oxygen. But interestingly enough, it also supercharges the white blood cells. So it makes the immune system function better. So the immune system can try to do a better job to get rid of these toxins. But some of these toxins are not going to come out without help. In the case of a heavy metal, for example, sometimes we have people that are actually dealing with radiation exposure. If somebody, for example, is an airline pilot, they have a lot of radiation exposure. There's a lot of occupations where there is natural radiation exposure. Electronics produce a certain level of radiation. So surrounding ourselves with that, there are all kinds of chemicals and pesticides and pollutants, furniture, off gases. Very often when somebody is dealing with an issue and you say, hey, we've got this terrible condition here, we've got this infection, this pathogen, we've got this chronic illness, and you actually look and you get to the root cause and you find out that there's a toxin going on there. Now, this is a vicious cycle because the toxins actually interfere in nutritional absorption. So very often in hyperbaric oxygen therapy, when we're working with somebody, they may have come to us already and made some pretty decent dietary changes, or they didn't have a particularly terrible diet in the first place before. But they're going, I eat and eat and eat, and I can't put weight on, or their physical results don't match their level of nutrition. We hear all the time on different kinds of panels, they're not absorbing. And a lot of that is because there are toxins involved. And part of it is the mitochondria is damaged because of the toxins. And the toxins are also preventing in the body actually being able to absorb nutrients. So very often when you address the toxins, the body is able to return and rebalance and reach a more optimum state of health. And it's able to do that naturally. It just helps to remove the individual. So again, this is a situation where Because hyperbaric has a capability to supercharge all these mechanisms at the same time, it can become very overwhelming. So, where does the person stand? And they may need some nutritional help with that. If the person is dealing with a pathogen, if the person has, for example, heavy pesticide levels, if there are underlying toxins, someone who's dealing with Lyme disease, as another example, all sorts of different bacteria. These different things, there are all different types of inoculation injuries now as well. And again, all of these things, very often the root of the mitochondria damage is a toxin. So the hyperbaric is going to do a really great job of helping to repair the tissue. It's going to do a really great job of supporting the immune system. So now we just need to do some essentially targeted support to help rebalance the body. And it's a very personalized thing. I sometimes laugh, oh, yeah, everybody's going to do this, this, and this. Well, that's probably good, but is it actually going to make a difference to that individual? Is that particular thing going to be, wow, I noticed that I'm really feeling better. Wow, I was really struggling with. Wow, I'm not in pain anymore. So this is where, again, some experience here. So bringing this back full circle, early on when we started seeing some of these complex cases, what was the other component there? And essentially, the other piece basically is there were heavy amounts of toxins that weren't effectively being addressed, paired with nutritional deficiencies. And very often, those nutritional deficiencies were a result of the toxin. So, in order to get this person better, we need to create a customized approach, and that includes a customized hyperbaric dive plan to give them the ability to handle this low and slow without overwhelming their drainage funnel, without throwing the body into a healing crisis, and essentially allowing for slow, gradual improvement as opposed to these essentially heavy detox reactions, healing crises. If somebody is feeling tired after hyperbaric oxygen therapy, assuming that there isn't anything else going on. Some people have poor sleep hygiene. Oh yeah, well, I stay up until 4:30 every morning and then I get woken up at 8 a.m. Okay, well, we're not getting enough sleep here. Hyperbaric is not the reason why the person is tired. So assuming that there are not other factors, if somebody's doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy and they notice an unnatural, unearned fatigue, mitochondria is missing something. We gave it the oxygen, something else is missing. If somebody does hyperbaric oxygen therapy and they start experiencing an elevated level of pain, the body is getting thrown into a cytokine storm. Essentially, the cleanup mechanisms of the body and the bactericidal mechanisms of the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, a very good thing has happened. But because there is a limitation, essentially phase 3 liver detox, as the body gets rid of garbage, it all filters down essentially into the bile. And 80% of the toxins get filtered through this very, very narrow process. So when this backs up, it actually dumps essentially raw sewage right into the bloodstream. So again, it's indicative of some pretty neat things that are happening. But because the body has been in such crisis for so long, because there are nutritional deficiencies, because there are drainage deficiencies, because there is an overwhelming amount of toxins. So we need to give you guys some help with that. And that's one of the things that we do here. This is actually one of my little subspecialties. And we don't just do this for people doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy here in Fort Lauderdale. We also do it for people that are all over the world. So in this case, hyperbaric, super, super powerful. Yup, big piece, but we need to fill in all of the other bricks to create the opportunity for the body to heal and repair. We need to give it all of the components and support all of the systems. And if one particular organ is more injured than another, if that's the particular area of emphasis, then we need to specifically support that organ in order to create the opportunity to rebalance the body. So we use specifically physician grade whole food supplements. We use liquid supplements. We use medicinal grade herbs, and we use some very special products utilizing carbon technology. And it allows essentially for the product to effectively work all over the body and work in areas of the body where normally the supplements are just limited by the gut. So this is a very, very specific thing. And often it's an integrated piece of the different considerations with it. And again, this is part of a dive plan. This is part of a big picture integrated approach. And this is part of what we do for our clients here, and as well as for people that are doing HBOT all over the world, and even people that are doing HBOT in a home setting where they actually have their own chambers. So if you know somebody that did hyperbaric and had a negative experience, that probably just a healing crisis, let's talk about it. Very often it's the first modality people should do, and they end up where it becomes at the end and they get the answers last. It is powerful, in some cases, a little too powerful. So we need a plan to properly, effectively apply the modality. And very often, hyperbaric is supporting other healing mechanisms in the body. And we need to make sure that it's in a good place and that it's able to do that as well. So we do have some special that we're running for the month of September. So if you are in need of a consultation, I encourage you to give our office a call. If you know someone who is struggling with symptoms, again, they don't have to be here in Fort Lauderdale. We can do nutritional programs for people literally all over the world. And our area of expertise is specifically nutritional programs that support hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And it's amazing when you combine the two of them together, the level of optimal success. We have clients on our schedule that have made progress when paired with targeted nutrition. They have done in a quarter to a half of the dives, their results are what you would expect to see after many, many more sessions. So it's just really neat to see the synergy, and it's really neat to see the body's natural healing mechanisms. So again, I thank you so much for joining me again on this week's Facebook Live. My name is Laura Betts, HyperbaricsRx, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Great topics each week, Monday, 6 p.m. Thank you again. And it's been a great evening. I hope you enjoyed the information.